denied the shocking accusations, insisting on his complete and absolute loyalty to her throughout their relationship. He logically countered her angry claims by pointing out that if he had remained entirely faithful, the only logical explanation for her current medical condition was her own hidden infidelity. This logical deduction only served to infuriate Susan even further. She hurled a series of highly personal insults at Ricky, harshly criticizing his overall intelligence, his physical appearance, and his general lifestyle choices, ultimately declaring the permanent end of their relationship in a highly dramatic, very public, and irreversible manner. As Susan angrily stormed away from the gathering, Ricky was left standing alone in utter shock, his grand romantic gesture completely and utterly shattered. His loyal friends quickly rallied around him and attempted to console him, offering highly supportive words and gently suggesting that the painful separation was ultimately for his long-term benefit. They warmly encouraged him to find quiet solace in the comforting company of his friends and perhaps enjoy a relaxing, locally brewed beverage. In the quiet aftermath of the highly disastrous party, Mr. Leahy and Randy sat down to seriously discuss their new financial strategy. They quickly realized that Julian's proposed, aggressive garnishment plan would take a very considerable amount of time to accumulate to the large amount they were fully willing to offer him immediately. They collaboratively decided to utilize a small portion of their newly acquired funds for some light, recreational gambling at the local horse racing track. They trusted their combined intuition to successfully guide their wagers while thoroughly enjoying the venue's notoriously greasy but delicious culinary offerings. Bubbles quietly reflected on the evening's chaotic events, managing to find a bright silver lining in the highly significant financial profits he had successfully generated from his continuous beverage sales throughout the night. He diligently prepared his equipment for another busy and profitable day of local distribution. Julian slowly approached him, politely requesting a small loan of several beverages to help entertain a new guest named Skylar. Bubbles, highly mindful of the rising production costs of his operation, agreed to provide the requested drinks but gently reminded Julian of the strict financial realities of running a successful business. Ricky also approached the brewing station, quietly seeking a strong beverage to help numb the acute emotional pain of his recent, highly public humiliation. Bubbles, deeply and genuinely concerned for the overall well-being of his two oldest friends, decided that it was finally time to address a fundamental, highly serious issue that had been troubling him. He gathered Ricky and Julian together, his tone incredibly serious and deeply heartfelt. He began his speech by firmly affirming his deep, unconditional love for both of them, a pure sentiment they both quickly and sincerely reciprocated. He then delivered a highly profound and incredibly sobering message to them. He strongly urged them to take a very hard, truly honest look at their current lives and their physical reflections in the mirror. He gently but firmly pointed out that they were all visibly aging, their overall physical health was slowly declining, and their continuous, stubborn reliance on various illicit activities was yielding absolutely no positive, long-term results. He sternly warned them that their current, reckless trajectory would inevitably and tragically lead to prolonged incarceration and a highly lonely, isolated existence. He painted a very stark, highly emotional picture of their potential future. A future where they would face their final, difficult moments confined in a cell and permanently separated from the people who truly cared about them. He heavily emphasized that true, enduring friendship required absolute honesty, and the honest, undeniable truth was that they all needed to permanently abandon their criminal endeavors immediately and actively seek out highly legitimate, positive paths, just as he had successfully done with his rapidly growing brewing business. He left them with this highly powerful, deeply moving message, sincerely hoping it would serve as the ultimate catalyst for a desperately needed, positive transformation in their lives. The eventful night ended with a deep sense of quiet contemplation, the heavy echoes of Bubbles' profound words hanging heavily in the cool air, offering a bright beacon of hope for a much brighter, far more responsible future. Ricky sat silently and motionlessly on his newly built, expansive wooden deck. The majestic engagement horse remained tethered nearby, acting as a silent, powerful witness to the evening's chaotic and highly emotional events. The crisp night air seemed to carry a new, heavy weight, bringing with it a sense of profound, personal realization. He took a small, slow sip of the refreshing beverage Bubbles had generously provided, letting the cool liquid warm his parched throat. He thought deeply about the 75 beautiful agricultural plants he had tragically lost, the highly elaborate, complex irrigation system he had painstakingly built with his own 2 hands, and the crushing, overwhelming disappointment of the stolen harvest. For so incredibly long, he had foolishly equated true success with these clandestine, highly risky operations, firmly believing that the next big, illegal score would finally secure his permanent freedom and financial stability. But deep down, he knew that Bubbles was absolutely right. The destructive cycle was truly endless, the inherent risks were constantly escalating, and the financial rewards were always frustratingly ephemeral. He slowly looked at the calm horse, seeing it now as a powerful symbol of his own highly misguided attempt to artificially manufacture happiness and relational stability. Susan's harsh, unforgiving words still stung his pride, but a small, growing part of him clearly recognized the painful, undeniable truth hidden deeply within her intense anger. He finally realized that he was a man completely out of time, stubbornly clinging to the rebellious, dangerous behaviors of his youth while the rest of the world moved forward responsibly without him. He slowly descended the sturdy wooden stairs of his new deck, his heavy footsteps echoing loudly in the quiet, sleeping park. He walked aimlessly along the dirt paths, his chaotic mind a swirling whirlwind of old memories and new regrets. He vividly remembered the countless, elaborate schemes, the incredibly narrow, dangerous escapes, and the highly fleeting moments of temporary triumph that were almost always inevitably followed by crushing, devastating defeats. He thought specifically of Trinity, his beloved daughter, and the deep, painful disappointment he had clearly seen in her bright eyes when he had finally confessed his latest elaborate deception. He desperately wanted to be a good man that she could truly look up to, a highly reliable, positive figure in her young life, rather than a perpetual source of chaotic stress and broken promises. He finally realized that his strong desire to financially provide for his family had unfortunately become highly twisted, leading him down a dark path that ultimately pushed them further and further away from his embrace. Julian, too, was quietly grappling with the heavy, undeniable weight of Bubbles' profound words. He sat alone in his own modest dwelling, the unopened, locally brewed beverages he had requested from Bubbles resting quietly on the small table before him. He thought specifically about Skylar, the woman he was supposedly going to entertain, and the incredibly hollow, unfulfilling nature of his current romantic pursuits. He had always taken great pride in being the primary intellectual architect of their various operations, the one with the grand vision and the master plan. But what, he asked himself, had those intricate plans truly achieved in the long run? They had only ever brought highly fleeting wealth, which was always quickly squandered, and a constant, highly pervasive anxiety about their uncertain future. He slowly looked around his incredibly sparse living surroundings, the distinct lack of permanence serving as a stark, unavoidable reminder of his highly unstable, risky lifestyle. He had spent his entire adult life trying desperately to outsmart the system, but the system always seemed to eventually win in the end. He recalled his earlier, highly aggressive confrontation with Mr. Leahy and Randy. His forceful demand for a large portion of their future wages was clearly a desperate, misguided attempt to assert dominance and secure some form of temporary financial stability. But was this truly the lasting legacy he wanted to leave behind? Did he really want to be remembered as a man who constantly preyed on the misfortune of others, forever trapped in an endless cycle of petty grievances and minor, pathetic extortions? The following morning finally dawned with a highly quiet, peaceful serenity that stood in incredibly stark contrast to the previous night's intense turmoil. The various residents of the park slowly emerged from their mobile homes, the chaotic events of the party already becoming the stuff of local, exaggerated legend. Bubbles was proudly the very first to rise, his strong entrepreneurial spirit completely undiminished by the drama.